Salut, sunt Laurențiu și mă bucur că ne vedem. Nu prea fac eu foarte multe videouri, dar uite că fac acum un video foarte important de la prietenii de la Bondora. Așa cum v-am spus, în ultimele 2 săptămâni am fost invitat aici să vorbesc cu ei și să aduc răspunsuri foarte importante. Așa că vă mulțumesc. Am o listă de întrebări pentru ei despre peer-to-peer, despre Bondora, despre ce va urma în această industrie. Așa că m-am pregătit un interviu și sper să vă placă foarte mult. O să fie interviu în engleză, doar că o să traduc foarte multe răspunsuri și un pic mai jos în interiorul articolului. O să schimb în engleză și dacă sunt întrebări, oricum îmi puteți scrie oricând pentru a le răspund. Ok, I will switch to English. Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello.
Can you tell me the name and what are you doing to Bondora?
Yeah, so my name is Matt Clannachan. I'm head of investments here at Bondora, and that means I get to work with really cool teams working on the investor tech business, the communications, and relations as well.
Okay, I have some questions about investment, about peer-to-peer investment and Bondora from my personal blog. So I will ask first, how do you explain peer-to-peer investment for a beginner who didn't know this kind of investment?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the concept of peer-to-peer itself isn't something new. It's something that banks have always done throughout history, whether it's taking money from one person and lending it to another. Done on a much larger scale with banks, but you can look at thousands of years ago, it was done the exact same way as well. But how it's different today is that we've leveraged technology so that anyone can take part in this. You don't have to be super rich. You don't have to be, someone of a political background or a legal background or something else to be able to gain access to this consumer lending asset class. So in simple terms, it basically means that you can, if you have some money that you would like to grow and earn more, you can then upload this to a platform like Bondora. You can add this in one of your accounts. And then that money is then distributed to people who are in need of finance and will pay a net return on top of that. And that comes back directly to you as well.
Okay, and this investment is risky or not?
I mean, any form of investment is risky, whether it's real estate, stocks, peer-to-peer, anything. So we can talk about the specific risks later on if you like to as well. But yeah, any investment comes with risk, for sure.
And what to choose the peer-to-peer or not? I don't know, capital market to buy stocks.
Would I choose peer-to-peer
Yeah.
over that? They're two completely different investment strategies. I mean, peer-to-peer, you can either look at it as a long-term investment, until your loans mature. Maybe you want to invest for a shorter period with quick liquidity, like we have with Go and Grow with Bondora as well. If you're investing for stocks, likely that you're going to, in the capital markets, likely you have to spend a lot more time with your investments. So all these kind of things should be taken into account before you choose which asset class that you want to invest in. So it's quite difficult to say one is better than the other, but both are great of a balanced portfolio, a great part of a balanced portfolio.
Okay. In Romania, some of the people say the peer-to-peer is a scam. Is this a scam?
But why do they think it's a scam?
I don't know. They didn't. They told that they don't get the money back. Maybe
Okay.
and, it's very risky because they don't know maybe the company. They don't get the loan back from the.
It's fair, especially if you're investing, outside of your home country. Yeah. So if they're investing in Estonia or Germany or wherever it is, it can probably be a bit scary at first, yeah. And you worry. But within peer-to-peer, there will be defaults. There will be defaults in your portfolio where some people don't pay back, right? Yeah. And that's expected. That's calculated for. That happens, right? It happens in banks as well. People don't pay back on their mortgages. So what's important is that risk management is in place from the beginning. So, for example, we have an automated process where we can assign a credit rating to each borrower to understand how likely they are to default on their loans and what we will then do to get that money back as well. So, yeah.
Talking about Bondora, tell me about Bondora and how companies start in this industry. How old are it?
So Bondora was actually one of the first in mainland Europe as well. Bondora was founded in 2007
Okay.
by our CEO, who's still here today. And it started off as just in Estonia, but now we've branched out to Estonia, Finland, and Spain, offering loans. And we have investors from 85 countries around the world. I think the figures are at the moment around 212 million that's been invested in the platform with 63,000 investors. So from a dorm room startup, which it was originally, to today, it's been quite a long journey so far.
Okay, and how can we invest in platform?
Yeah, so there's three main different ways that you can invest with Bondora. The first and the most popular is called Go and Grow, which you may have heard of already.
Yes, I have some questions after about
you have? Okay, good. So this is our most popular among existing and new investors who are signing up to the platform as well. Just if you want to invest without any hassle, without much time on your part, a couple of clicks here and there to deposit and to take your money out as well. Simple, straightforward. That's Go and Grow. It has a target net return of 6.75%, and we said that you can take your money out at short notice as well. So really simple, straightforward. You can see your interest. You can see the returns added to your account every day as well, which is really nice because you can see how it changes over time. It's quite motivating as well. The other products that we have, you could even just separate them to two different ones. So we have Go and Grow, and then Portfolio Manager and Portfolio Pro. Now these are more long-term investments compared to Go and Grow, because you actually should look at it with a minimum 3 to 5 year outlook.
Okay.
Because the liquidity is not as simple as with Go and Grow. But in return, it's likely that you would get higher returns with those investment options as well. So it completely depends on your strategy. If you are looking for something which is easily accessible, a net return which is stable, maybe Go and Grow is for you. If you're looking for something which is more a long-term investment, high net return, less liquidity, and you can choose your own risk strategy, then maybe Portfolio Manager or Portfolio Pro is something that you should look at.
Okay, and why to choose, Bondora and not other platforms?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, for me, I think one of the best things about Bondora is that how simple and straightforward it is. And this is something that should really be taken into account, the amount of time that you spend on your investments as well, because it's not only just about the net return that you get, it's your time cost as well. How much time do you spend on managing your investments every single day? And that's one thing that's usually not taken into consideration so much. So, but on the business side of it, actually, Bondora has one of the longest track records in the industry, which can give investors a lot of confidence as well in the longevity of the platform.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we are going to talk about Go and Grow.
Okay.
How you told me a little thing about it, but how is working and how we can invest in it?
Okay. So how Go and Grow works compared to other products. So instead of actually joining the platform and then selecting individual loans, which you would then invest in, or by country or by interest rates or anything, any of this manual kind of work, it doesn't exist with Go and Grow. It doesn't exist. The Go and Grow portfolio is made up of around 50,000, 60,000 loan pieces of all different loans. So investors benefit from getting the diversification that comes with that as well. And it matches all the loans in our whole portfolio of, from AA to HR risk ratings. So the whole range of risk ratings, the whole range of countries, borrowers from all different demographics and backgrounds as well. So the bottom line is that investors can actually just select the account, they can add their money to it, and they see the net return added every day. The net return on it is 6.75%, and it's actually, that's capped at that, so it can't be any more than 6.75%. It's also
it can be more than 6?
It can't be any more. Yeah, it can't be any more. And it's not guaranteed as well, which is important.
Why is not guaranteed?
Well, any guarantee that you would give on it, unless you have backing of, say, the European Central Bank or your national bank, it wouldn't really be a true promise on that guarantee. So we just like to set the expectations up front and say, this is based on our history of achieving 10 to 15% on loans for the past 10 years, that we think that we can deliver this 6.75% for investors on a continuous basis going forward. So that's why it's not guaranteed, and investors should be aware of it. We have delivered on our promises so far. So, yeah.
Okay, the interest is not guaranteed, but the money is guaranteed for our
There,
investment.
there are no guarantees at all. Yeah.
No guarantee.
Unless you have like a huge balance sheet by yourself, or like I said, the backing of some kind of central body, then you can't physically guarantee this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can lose our money if we invest.
It's highly unlikely,
yes,
but possible.
That's
sure.
possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as I said, to date, it's delivered on that 6.75% return for thousands of happy people.
So
yeah.
Okay. One of other questions is about bankrupt of the platform. It is a main. If there any bankrupt of the platform, what's happening with our investment?
Yeah, and this is a risk that people should be aware of investing in peer-to-peer, not only with Bondora, but everywhere. So, you should look at the track record of that platform. Okay. How long have they been in business? Are they a profitable platform as well? But in the event that Bondora did become bankrupt for some reason, an administrator would come in to take over the active loans and investments. No further ones would be issued at all, and then they would work to recover the active payments back to investors as well. So that's what would happen if we became bankrupt. But as I said, how you can assess whether you think that is likely or not, you can see, do they publish all their data regularly? Do you have access to public data? Are they audited? Do they have profitable financial statements? If not, why? So these are the kind of questions that investors who are concerned about this should ask and do their due diligence to look at.
Okay. So this is a risk for the investment.
Yeah, I think within peer-to-peer.
Not only to Bondora, to all the platforms.
Yeah, for sure. So, the insolvency of the platform and there's no guarantees. They're two of the main risks that people should be aware of. And then any kind of macroeconomic events as well, whether it be like a global recession.
And how to compare a platform? Where investments and we want to invest in peer-to-peer? How to choose what we have to look at the platform to say?
I think to decide, which platform would be best for you is to decide what your goals are.
Okay.
In the beginning. So like I said, are you investing for a specific purpose? Saving for some house deposit in three years' time. Are you investing for retirement in 20, 30, 40, 50 years' time? Who knows? Because your investment goals and your strategy will be totally different dependent on that. So I'd say once you understand that and then understand how much time you can devote to it, and maybe your experience as well, is this the first time that you're actually investing in this asset class? They're the things that you should consider before choosing a platform to invest in.
Okay. So we can earn more than 6.75 to grow.
Yeah, this 6.75% is the target net return, which is capped at that. Actually, what's important to note is that if the net return of the portfolio is more than 6.75%, then these extra returns are actually put into a reserve fund. So if for some reason Bondora cannot deliver on the 6.75%, then we will draw upon the reserve fund to supplement that instead.
Okay. Until now, the grow investment, what year did they had? 6 or 7.5? Or what interest they had, the investors?
So the people that have invested with it so far, so to date it's been 6.75% for everyone, and the beta version was launched in April last year, released to everyone in June 2018, and yes, so far we've delivered on the 6.75% every time.
Okay, and how do you protect the investors' investments? There's buyback guarantees, or? Yeah,
we don't have a buyback guarantee.
You will have in the future?
No, it's not something that we plan to have at all. For the reasons that I've said before about just setting the expectations up front, of what we can expect to achieve and on our track record as well. But in terms of protection of investments, maybe would you like to know about our recovery process?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's say if someone defaults on their loan, we have a simple 3-step process to actually claim that money back. So the first is internally. So we will contact them via letter, via email, via text to try and retrieve that money back ourselves. And sometimes this works. But if it doesn't, then we will file the claim to a court, who then hopefully rule in our favor that, yes, this person should have paid the money back, or this person owes this money. At that stage, it then moves to the bailiff, and they can then retrieve the borrower's payments back via their income and assets. So even though the loan isn't necessarily secured onto a house or a car, they still have the rights to freeze their assets and the income to retrieve the payments back to investors then.
And this is the strategy to reduce the default rate?
So this is a strategy to manage the defaults. So like I said, the defaults are expected. Defaults and risks are two different things. Yeah. So defaults are expected and risks are then managed in line with that as well. So that there's a quite clear difference between the two, because the defaults in your portfolio does not necessarily mean that there's a risk. It just means that these are expected, because otherwise if you could say like 100% of people will pay back, then it would be a perfect world. But, yeah.
Okay. In the event of financial crisis, because this is a good question from my public, what's your expectation with the investments? There are chances for us to lose our money? Or?
So, I mean, a global financial crisis like in 2007-8 that we saw once before, we haven't seen something like that again since then, but there's been like smaller recessionary periods. But just to touch on how we actually assess our borrowers and how our credit process works, how our credit modeling works, we have a proprietary credit model which assesses borrowers on thousands of data points, from traditional things like the income and employment details, from population registries, from credit bureaus, to non-traditional methods from, say, social media and how they use our site. Now, why this is important is because we've collected this data over a decade, more than a decade. And we've seen this for people who not only get the loan with us, but people who apply for a loan with us as well and we've actually rejected. So what this tells us is how these borrowers are going to behave in times of recessionary periods, because we've operated in Spain and Finland whilst there's been smaller recessionary periods in there as well. Okay. Not on a global level, but collecting this data and then analysing it has helped us to prepare for that scenario in case there's a global recession in the future. So, like the honest answer is, we can't say like 100% this is exactly what's going to happen, but we can say with high confidence based on the data that we've analysed and assessed so far.
Okay. And how do you see the peer-to-peer lending industry in the next 5 or 10 years?
I see huge growth, huge growth. Even just looking at the growth of Bondora itself over the past 12, 24 months, we've gone from 30,000 investors to actually less than that, right? 20,000 investors to over 60,000 today. Like I said, the investments have nearly doubled as well. So even just on a local level, this is huge. But I think one of the main things to bridge is the knowledge gap, or the trust gap, you could say, because a lot of people are still maybe hold more trust with their local bank and they're not used to investing online, especially cross-border, like you said today about people investing outside of Romania or in any different country to where they live. And I think once that trust gap is bridged, then the industry will explode after that, because you'll see that it doesn't matter if you have no experience in investing or you're not a technical person, that anyone can take part in this and benefit from it as well.
Okay. And the last question or message, do you have a message for the Romanian investors and how to bring them to invest in Bondora?
Well, my Romanian is not so good, but I would say if you are thinking about investing, the worst thing that you can do is just sit on it for a few years and to not take any action, because it will be 5 years later down the line and you'll say like, I wish I'd have already started, right? So what's good today is that you can start with extremely small amounts. For example, on Bondora, you can start with €1. Okay. And this can often give you the confidence and trust to then build up to something more in the future. So I would say if you're thinking about it, just try it. If you need any advice, there's plenty of online communities, including yourself, that talk about this, or you can write to us directly and we're happy to chat with you as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for your time. Mulțumesc. Dacă mai sunt întrebări, cu drag mă puteți contacta și le pot trimite direct, să-i trimit direct lui Matt și el o să-mi răspundă. Mulțumesc.
Thank you.